Following the Lakers drafting Adou Thiero, getting him with the 36th overall draft pick, having quite the journey to get to that point, initially having the 55th overall draft pick, trading that draft pick with cash to get the 45th overall draft pick, once again trading that draft pick with cash to get the 36th overall draft pick, where they eventually took Adou Thiero. However, they were not done after that point. After the draft ended, and as we often see with them, they wasted no time getting two-way contracts and filling them up with some talented undrafted players, one of which being Eric Dixon, a 5-year college player out of Villanova, the all-time leading scorer at Villanova, leading the entire D1 level in scoring points per game last season, and then picking up another talented and well-decorated collegiate athlete with RJ Davis, a 5-year player out of North Carolina, a guy that led the ACC in scoring last season, or back in 23-24 actually, a guy with plenty of highlights in March Madness, and a guy that I'm definitely a fan of as a North Carolina college fan. So with that in mind here, how did they spend their two-way contracts? Were they good pickups? Could these be potential hidden gems to their team, and what do they project as? Could they be rotation players, or what exactly are we looking at here with them? We'll talk about that, break down their game and what I like and don't like about their games individually. In addition to that, they have picked up 2 additional players via Exhibit 10 contract, aka training camp contracts, one of which being Augustus Marciulionis. That's quite the name there, picking him up from St. Mary's, yet another 5-year college player, and then picking up Arthur Kaluma, a forward for them, and maybe he could have a pathway to their team, maybe Marciulionis could have a pathway to their team, but they're not directly on the team like both Eric Dixon and RJ Davis. Again, both being under 2-way contracts, joining Trey Jemison as their 2nd and 3rd 2-way contract players, and that is the current limit for 2-way contracts. 3 2-way contracts for every team, so the Lakers are completely filled up here. No, Christian Koloko is not currently under a 2-way contract for their team. Maybe he could earn his way back to that, or maybe actually make their 15-man roster. But as of this point, their 3 2-way contracts are as follows: Trey Jemison, Eric Dixon, and RJ Davis. And like I said, we're going to talk about RJ Davis and Eric Dixon. So without further ado here, and without wasting any more time, talking about Eric Dixon first. Like I said, he is a 5-year college player out of Villanova, spending his entire collegiate career at Villanova, leading to him becoming their all-time scorer and definitely having quite the offensive game to come with it. But before we get into that, looking at his measurements and from a height, length, weight standpoint, Eric Dixon definitely has the filled-out frame. Looking at a full 5-year college player that developed his frame in that time frame, coming in at roughly 260 pounds, weighing in at nearly 258 at the draft combine, measuring in at 6'7.5" barefoot, meaning with shoes on he's more about 6'9" here. Actually a positive for him given that he did measure at 6'8" in college, meaning he might be able to play some small ball center, and that's definitely a good thing for him as he does project more as a center rather than a power forward. And if he is about 6'9", he can play small ball center, playing center against smaller teams and teams that don't really have a big physical matchup at the 5, he might be able to do that. Coupled with his 6'7.5" frame barefoot, again roughly 6'9" with shoes on, he does have a near 7-foot wingspan, roughly 6'11.5" measured officially at the draft combine, combined again with his roughly 260-pound frame. That is a pretty well-developed frame for a power forward or even center for that fact, so he might be able to play at both the 4 and 5 at the NBA level. And like I said, probably more at the 5 due to his lateral mobility. I mean, that's kind of the reason he went undrafted, even with the talented scoring ability, the talented 3-level scoring ability, which we will get to in a bit here. He went undrafted due to his kind of lack of athletic ability, and mostly lateral mobility at that 4-5 spot. Simply put, is not a good side-to-side athlete, won't be switching on defense, definitely won't be guarding the perimeter very much or very well for that fact. Didn't do it at the college level, so I can't imagine he'll be very good at the NBA level. That's something that he'll definitely be challenged with, and opponents definitely will attack him, forcing him out to the perimeter, forcing him out of drop coverage and staying near the post or near the dunker spot. They're going to try to attack him and force him to prove that he can defend at the NBA level. And in my opinion, that's what Eric Dixon has to prove more than anything. I mean, there are absolutely zero questions about his game on offense. If you watched him, and like I watched him throughout last season and pretty much through his entire 5-year college career, the guy's always been a great offensive player. Truly being the definition of a 3-level scoring big, can shoot the 3-point shot, shooting roughly 41% from the 3-point line last season, on an absolutely incredible 7.2 3-point shots per game. And at the college level for a power forward or center, that's incredibly high volume shooting. So no question about that, no question about his low post game. Is kind of a throwback player here in that regard. Not sure I'd compare him directly to a guy like Zach Randolph, for example, but kind of think that frame and kind of think that type of player. Really a bully ball player around the rim. I mean, if you're guarding him and trying to contain him in the post, you better have a pretty good frame to kind of counteract him. If you're anything less than 250 or have a massive height advantage over him, then you're probably not going to stop Eric Dixon in the post. The guy will back you down and get directly to where he wants to. Either shoot over the right or left shoulder, do a fadeaway, hook shot, even bully his way directly to the rim and simply go through you. The guy definitely has a wide array of moves at the rim and definitely will power his way to get to that point too. So again, between the 3-point shooting, even has a pretty good mid-range shot, both from the post and simply spotting up or pulling up, definitely has a true 3-level game on offense. No question about that. Like I said though, I keep having to come back to his defense and overall athletic ability. You know, he's not a terrible vertical athlete, actually measured at a 32.5-inch vertical at the draft combine, so that's not bad at all. Whether you're talking about for a center or power forward, that's more average rather than below average, so not gonna knock him for that. But for side-to-side movement, won't be switching on defense, can't expect him to take on tough matchups on defense. Even worse than a Rui Hachimura, for example, who we often talk about as not a good perimeter defender. At that 4th spot, you have to do it in the modern NBA, and if you can't, there might not be a long-term spot for you. So that definitely is the question with Eric Dixon. Regardless though, I really do like the pickup. The Lakers have had great luck with full 5-year college players like Austin Reeves, for example, definitely working out with him. They seem to have a good insight on 5-year college guys that are both NBA ready and still have some untapped potential. So hopefully they have found that once again with Eric Dixon, and I'd like to believe they did. But then moving on to RJ Davis, yet another 5-year college player and a guy that had a very decorated collegiate career. Like I said, spending all 5 years at UNC, the team that I tend to root for in college. Not a hardcore college basketball fan, but when I do root for a team, it does happen to be North Carolina. And well, I've definitely enjoyed watching RJ Davis. The guy's been a great offensive player for them, has simply been a rock within their rotation and starting lineup for half a decade at this point. Hard to imagine it's been that long, but it's really went by quickly. He's made his mark at March Madness at UNC, no matter what way you want to look at it, and a whole lot of it has come through his playmaking ability and his scoring ability too. Is a smaller guard at 6 foot, only roughly 160. That's going to be the immediate knock on him and the thing he will have to overcome, pretty much why he went undrafted. Absolutely no question about his offensive game either. Last season put up roughly 17 points per game on 41% field goal shooting, roughly 35% from the 3-point line, and that's considered a down year for him, because during the 2023-24 college year, RJ Davis led the entire ACC in scoring, putting up roughly 21 points per game, then to go along with it, roughly 4 rebounds per game and 4 assists per game, over 1 steal per game, and shooting an absolutely tremendous 40% from beyond the arc on nearly 8 attempts per game. So much like Eric Dixon, is a very good shooting threat, is a 3-level scoring option, has a good mid-range game, and can finish around the rim in a variety of ways, knowing how to absorb contact with his smaller frame and really having a height disadvantage. RJ Davis has gotten creative to finish around taller players and get around taller matchups, which he has become very efficient at doing at this point too. And if you ask me, there definitely is something to say for a guy that's averaged above 15 points per game in 3 straight college years, averaging over 36% for the 3-point line in 4 straight years, being a gigantic piece of a very good team offensively, and even defensively for that fact. Don't knock him simply because he is a little bit shorter, is a very tenacious and can be a pest on defense. I'm looking forward to him kind of taking that next step on defense. If he can do that, then he definitely could have a long NBA career here. You know, not going to compare him to a Jose Alvarado, not a defensive pest like that, but maybe a TJ McConnell kind of guy, being a pest here and there, but not necessarily a lockdown defender or even a great defender, simply being above average with his very efficient and good offensive game. That's what I'm looking for and hoping for with RJ Davis. And well, I imagine that the Lakers scouting department is hoping for exactly that with RJ Davis too. Looking at what he did on defense during college, having a defensive BPM rating of plus 2.4, again averaging over 1 steal per game for every year of his college career per 40 minutes, even per regular average for 3 straight years now. Definitely showing the ability to pick up full court, taking on smaller matchups, and even being a pest here and there. I think they're looking at that with his offensive ability and hoping for a guy that can be a backup point guard for a long time to come. Again, there are definite flaws you can point to here for both RJ Davis and Eric Dixon, but at the end of the day, I think there's definitely something to be said for 2 5-year full college players that were the backbone of their individual teams for multiple years now. Guys that they ultimately turn to in late game situations, guys that perform very well at the highest level, that being March Madness for them, pretty much spending every year of their college career getting better, both offensively and even defensively for that fact, albeit at a limited ceiling for Eric Dixon in particular. They've gotten better, maybe don't have the highest ceiling compared to a first round draft pick, but they definitely do still have both untapped potential in my opinion. They're not at their ceiling yet, they do have more room for growth, and even though they might be a bit older than your traditional prospect, being roughly 23 and 24, I still think they have untapped potential, much like Austin Reeves showed during his 5-year college career and thereafter. He got way better and has continued to get better every year in the NBA. So don't point to RJ Davis or Eric Dixon and say just that they're 5-year college players and have nothing left to improve upon. I don't believe that's true. I think that would be lazy analysis. Yes, again, they have flaws and you can point to them. That's why they went undrafted, but they're not completely filled out yet. I think they have room to improve with the right team, and maybe that team does happen to be the Lakers. They can go a bit further yet. And well, with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Lakers picking up RJ Davis and Eric Dixon, 2 individual 5-year college players with decorated collegiate careers with 2-way contracts to their team? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Would have you preferred them to pick up different players, and if you did, who would you like them to pick up instead? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.